mental health. Let's talk. Well, my story with mental health goes back to when I was a teenager. I suffered very much with depression. I wasn't happy at all. Although I'd lost my nan years before, I think I was still grieving for her because we were like best mates. Then the bullying started at senior school, and that just made things a lot worse. So I ended up first of all I ended up sort of taking boxes of my mum's antidepressants and hiding them in my room. I stocked up on them till and her thyroid tablets. I stocked up on them till I thought I'd got enough. I then went to the local park with a bag of alcohol and decided to sit and I suppose try and make the sadness go away. I don't think I really wanted to die. I just wanted to end the sadness feeling and the loneliness. And although I had people round me, I had my brothers, my mum, I just felt lonely. And it wasn't a nice place to be. I then went to adolescent counselling, which did help. It lifted my mood a little bit. I was prescribed antidepressants to take every day, and they elevated it. They elevated it quite a lot. So then I became overly happy and overly cheery, and everything was great. If I had an idea of doing something, I wanted to do it then and there. And I was very, very impulsive. And I didn't really recognise it as a symptom of mental health till later on in life. And I think ever since my teenage years I've been struggling with my moods, being up and down and erratic, but I never really thought anything of it. I just thought I was a teenager going through mood swings and puberty, and always thought it was linked to coming on, and it wasn't till a lot later in my adult life that I then went back to the doctor because it had become a big problem. I had started to be very impulsive with money. I'd got into debt, and I was very uncontrollable with it. If I wanted something, I had to have it then and there, regardless of the consequences. And that sort of ended up me having to borrow money. I ended up going down the payday loan route just to pay for normal bills. and I'd got into a lot of serious debt. I was starting to struggle a lot at work with my mood swings. Little things would set me off. Little things would irritate me or bring me down, or I'd have really hyper days, and it got to the point where people were noticing at work that something weren't quite right. So I went back to the doctor, explained my mood, that I was always tired, I was exhausted, but I wasn't. I was either really down or really erratic. He sent me to go and see a psychologist who, after a few sessions and talking about my past and what had gone on and how things were affecting me, he diagnosed me with cyclothymia, which is a mood disorder. It's in the bipolar family, but is not as severe as bipolar. I don't go to the extremes of bipolar, but it can develop into bipolar if unmedicated. So I am now on antidepressants to lift my low mood, and mood stabilizers to make sure I then don't go the other way and go too high. So it sort of stabilizes the top end of how happy I get, I suppose. So it's a constant battle. It's not something I talk about a lot, mainly because I think people will judge or think I'm crazy, won't want to associate with me, and I think that's the big problem with mental health at the moment, is it's not talked about. It's not in the forefront of everyone's minds. It's classed as a bit of a taboo. You should be alright, you shouldn't have this illness. And because it's an unseen illness, people often think you're okay, you're putting it on. It's just in your head, it's a bit of make-believe. Like other illnesses, they can see that you're unwell. But with mental health, there is nothing to show. There isn't. You don't look ill. You could look perfectly fine and still suffer with a mental illness. And my mental illness scares me quite a lot, especially when it's bad, because I'll start seeing things, I'll start thinking things have happened that haven't happened. when it was really bad before, I had visions of my husband running over my feet and breaking them, and them ringing work to say I couldn't come in because I got a broken foot, and it felt really real, although it wasn't real. I'd see things like shadowy figures, almost like the depiction of death, but not death. And when I did see them, it kept me awake, because it made me feel scared, like a lost child. But then, on the other hand, when I was up and hyper and wanting to do everything at 1,000 miles an hour, I still couldn't sleep because I couldn't switch my brain off. I wanted to be going. I wanted to be constantly doing something. But it was never doing things I should. It was never doing the housework, and that always got left behind. I always wanted to find the next adventure, the next exciting thing, the next. I think that's what's dangerous. You always want to get that rush, that adrenaline rush. Fingers crossed that I haven't been so bad. I mean, I've gotten erratic again a little bit lately, but with medicine adjustment, that seems to be dying down and getting back to normal. I did find it really hard after having Monkey. My moods I found really hard to cope with. I was constantly down, wanting to cry, constantly felt alone with her, even though I had husband around to support me and family and friends to support me. And although my health visitor always asked how I was doing, I never felt it was okay to say that I wasn't okay until moving to Suffolk and getting a new health visitor. I find that I'm able to talk about it a little bit more and ask for help a little bit more. And I think that's key with mental health, is being able to ask for help, recognizing that you need help, and talk about it. Talk about how you're feeling. And your family, your friends, your partner, you should be able to talk to them. Don't feel like they'll judge you, that they'll think you're crazy. They'll be able to get the help that you will need. They'll be able to support you, which is the biggest thing, is knowing that there's someone there supporting you and that you're not alone. So if you do think that there might be something wrong, you feel you're not quite right, feeling not yourself, you're not ill in the sense of a cold or anything like that. If you're feeling down and upset but can't quite pinpoint the reason, go and speak to someone. Go and get checked out, because then they'll be able to help. And that's my biggest advice, is never be worried to ask for help.